Hey nerds, welcome once again to another rousing episode of the Brief Nerdity podcast. I am your host, Ryan, and joined with me this week is once again my good friend Trent.
Hello.
And joining us as another super special guest is our friend Ross.
Super special guest, but apparently not good friend.
Well, duh.
I remember once we were playing Division, and then you mentioned to someone that we were IRL friends, and I was like, not really? Because we've never met technically in real life. I mean, we have a lot of mutual friends that know each other in real life, but we technically never met in real life.
But we were grouped with a random group, and they're like, "You two like stick together," and I'm like, "Well, I know I'm like in like outside of the group finder setting."
Yeah,
I know real people who know him.
he does exist. He is not an artificial intelligence.
I
just
think it was like I
randomly playing
can't
this
kick
game.
you from the group because there'd be repercussions if I remember because of your. No, I'm just kidding.
He does exist. They
'Cause I'm
do
the worst
exist.
healer ever. I need heals. I need
Division
heals.
sucks with... Anyway,
So how you guys doing?
I am fantastic, but we are a Ross. Did you hear that we are in the presence of nerd royalty?
Yeah, I heard that he actually, because of what you're about to say, has started wearing his underwear on the outside of his pants in real life, which makes me glad that I'm not actually an IRL friend of his.
Well, I got to cosplay our character at conventions, so
You have fun with that.
get the word out.
I hope you're hitting the gym. But no, you got retweeted by somebody pretty famous-ish in the gaming world, anyway.
Mr. Mike Gamble retweeted my Mass Effect 2 launch trailer remaster. I was very excited about that. I found out at like 3 a.m. and was like, eek! So, like, I finished the trailer and then I posted it, and then I just kind of like went to playing Mass Effect 3. And when I'm playing Mass Effect 3, I'm recording, and so I don't really like stop or take breaks, because anytime I break is another like editing session for me. And anytime like I pause or something like that, I have to edit that out. And so like I tend to not stop or pause, and so I'll just go hard to paint for a while. And then, but I'm really enjoying Mass Effect 3 again. I mean, obviously I enjoy the entire trilogy, but 3 is my favorite, and so just going.
Have you mentioned on the podcast what this trailer is and why it's significant, and like what the difference is between yours and the original?
And who Mike Gamble is, for those who may not know.
Yeah, true. All true. So Mike Gamble is a producer on Mass Effect. He's been a producer since Mass Effect 2. I've actually met him IRL twice in real life.
So online in like a group finder thing?
Yeah. No, I've met him twice, each time at San Diego Comic-Con. So the first time I didn't know who he was until afterwards, and then I like looked him up and I'm like, oh crap, he's really kind of famous. Kind of. So like I was in line to play Mass Effect 3 back in San Diego Comic-Con 2011 when they were there at a big presence at Comic-Con, and like just guys in BioWare t-shirts were like kind of just talking people online, and then like, not to toot my own horn, but like I was one of the people who like really knew what I was talking about and was like really excited to play the game and knew the lore and had followed like all the marketing for the game. And so like he actually kind of stopped and talked with me for a bit and like asked me questions on what I liked about the games, what I didn't like, things like that. And then he, I talked to him for probably a good 10 minutes, like not even joking, just we talked about everything. And then like he said he was a producer. I'm like, okay, that's kind of cool, and in my head I'm like, oh, he's not Casey Hudson, but whatever. But and then he asked me, he's like, if there's one thing you could have me do in this game, what would you do? Or what would you have me do? And then I said, make sure to play the Vigil song at a super emotional good moment. And he's like, okay. Now, I'm sure they were already planning to do that, since Vigil is a very emotionally powerful song that they use quite frequently in the trilogy. But I was like, that needs to be there. So anyway, and then I met him again just 2 years ago at San Diego Comic-Con, where I had a lore question for him. A lore question that I asked him at the first time I met him in line, and then he said, you'll find that answer in Mass Effect 3, and then you never did. I could go on and on about this if you want, but I don't want to have a 20-minute Pokemon discussion either. So if you guys need to stop me.
I was actually about to send you a message being like, move along.
No, you know what? I let it slide when you lost some nerd cred because you used Harden the Paint, which is a jock reference, not a nerd reference. So this podcast is getting heated.
Oh boy. Well, anyway, I asked him a lore question, and then he finally managed to answer it for everyone. And I posted on Reddit, and it's on the Mass Effect wiki now as an official lore answer. But anyways, so he retweeted, and
that's pretty special.
yeah, he retweeted it, and I got a bunch of traffic on this Mass Effect 2 launch trailer remaster. To answer your question about the trailer itself, the Mass Effect 2 launch trailer is still my favorite trailer of all time. Just got me so pumped for the game, and just really well done trailer in my opinion. And so having recently joined the PC Master Race about 4 years ago, become very picky about the graphics and frame rates and all the fun stuff. And so when I go back and watch that trailer, it's very obviously in 720p, and I don't even think it's in 30 frames a second. I would put it at like 17 to 20 frames a second.
It's on an Xbox.
Yeah, because it's sometimes when the characters are like talking the trailer, it looks not very good, and so it bothered me. And so when I was filming recording, I guess, my playthroughs of the Mass Effect trilogy, I was like, hey, I have this HD high-res good frame rate footage of Mass Effect 2. I'm gonna take all the bits from the trailer and cut them together and just remaster the same trailer. So released online, and then Mike Gamble retweeted it, and I posted it to Reddit, and it seemed to be a little bit popular. It's only been out for a couple days now, and it's at 2,500 views so far.
So if Mike Gamble was to ask you now, like, what is the one thing that he could do for Andromeda? Like, what would your answer be to him if he was like asking you that now about the next entry in the franchise?
Oh boy. Okay. I actually answered this question to my girlfriend Maggie a couple of weeks ago. So hope I don't go on too much. Again, stop me if I do. So there's a moment in Mass Effect 2 to where Garrus is talking about a sparring match he has with a female Turian, because he's talking about the difference between life on a Turian ship and life on a human ship, and that Turian ships have sparring matches. And there was a female Turian he was like super matched up with, and there was a lot of gambling going on, and he was fighting this person, sparring with this person for a long time, but eventually they had to call it a draw. It's because he had reach and she had flexibility in their sparring matches. And then he later goes on to say
sparring matches.
Yeah, well, he later goes on to say that, like, we had a tiebreaker back in my cabin. I had reach and she had flexibility. Kind of wink, wink, nudge, nudge. So in Mass Effect Andromeda, you have a female Turian squad member. At some point, I really hope she tells that same story just from the reverse. He had reach and I had flexibility. Just a subtle nod, not so subtle nod.
That would be really funny.
So,
I mean, she is basically Lady Garrus.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping, I have big hopes for her.
Speaking of that, do you think that that's a concern for this franchise going forward, that like the Turian's going to be the Lady Garrus? Like, because like even hearing people talk about them online, it's like instead of like the female Turian, it always is the Lady Garrus. Like, do you feel that there's a risk that all the new characters kind of get just typecasted as a B version of the old characters?
I think that's always going to be a risk. But personally, I was also talking to my girlfriend about this. I think Garrus is one of the least Turians in the Mass Effect universe that we know of. And I think that even though she's obviously going to be a unique character, I think she's going to be more along the lines of a standard Turian, like kind of no nonsense military kind of person is what I.
So no calibrating.
Yeah, she might be calibrating, but Garrus is kind of a renegade goofball. So
when Mike Gamble retweeted your tweet, did you tweet him back and say, willing to relocate for job? Send DM.
I should. I'll do that now. I am famous now because he retweeted my video.
I mean, the worst thing that happens is he tells you no.
You got to jump on this fame while you got a chance. From what I've seen of the new Turian character, I feel bad that I don't know her name.
Vetra.
Thank you. She does definitely already have a different feel just from the very few scenes we've seen from the trailers. So I think it'll be good. I'm not too worried.
Cassandra from Dragon Age Inquisition is kind of the personality that comes to mind from what we know about her so far, in my opinion. But that could be completely different.
We'll see. Well, we'll have that discussion in March.
So speaking of Dragon Age Inquisition, one of the things that I saw this week which was talking about Andromeda, was saying that they were looking to have more meaningful side quests, kind of more like The Witcher. And the article said that they felt like they learned a lot from Inquisition? Like, did Inquisition? I never played the Inquisition. Did it, or its side quests unfulfilling, or just that they're going even beyond that?
It's a pretty common thing on the internet for people to complain about in Inquisition side quests, and I would say they're pretty MMO-ish as far as just like collect 10 bunny ears, kind of thing, and just look on your map and go to the key point and grab whatever's at that key point and mission successful.
So I mean, like Zephyr Hoofs and Plane Strider heads.
Yeah. So
Man, I don't know.
that's a common complaint, but that being said, I don't negatively judge the game for it. I felt the game had enough to offer in its world, its characters, and its gameplay to where I didn't think negatively about the game for it. But to each their own.
It didn't bother me. I never felt
unwarranted complaint.
What would you say?
Sorry, I said a common but unwarranted complaint.
I wouldn't even say it's unwarranted. I just don't share the opinion of those who have it.
I would. Well, I'll draw that line. I mean, it's side quests or side quests. There are some I think that are a lot better than others. The only problem I ever had with Inquisition side quests is that you would somehow lock yourself out of getting them if you progressed some of the main stuff too far, and then you just have this annoying thing in your quest log that you can't get rid of. So that's just, as a slightly OCD gamer, that was something that bugged me.
Oh, I never knew that. That never happened to me.
In the hinterlands, those the quests that you can pick up over and over again for supplies at your camps. The hinterlands one requires you to pick up items that you can only get before you've taken a side, when there's still random like mages and Templars out fighting. And once that's done, you can't get those items anymore. So I had this quest that was like 3 of 5 like locks or whatever for these cages thing that I was supposed to find, and it was there forever. And
that would drive me nuts.
It drove me crazy. I even looked into like if there was ways to like console command or edit the file to make it go away. But I mean, I don't think Mass Effect's side quests are any better in the past. How do you think they've been?
On the fence. I mean, Mass Effect 3 has those dumb ones where you just like walk around and you just hear someone talking on the Citadel, and you're like, oh, I really need some quantum entanglers for my metagel, and then you're just scanning out in the middle of space, and then the little thing at the bottom tells you like, you found some quantum entanglers for your metagel, and then you just take it to them at the Citadel. Like that was obviously super lame, but at the same time, there's a lot of, I think, good little side missions that, like, especially like some of the Prothean ones where you find that like giant Prothean sphere, and the one where you're on that giant ship that's kind of teetering on the edge of a cliff, and like as you move around it, it's like almost going to teeter off and fall off and stuff. And then debatably, all the loyalty missions could also be considered side missions as well.
Yeah, I was going to say, I felt like that the loyalty missions from Mass Effect 2 were the best side missions generally in the game. And I believe that I read, you Ryan will know, because Ryan knows everything about Mass Effect. They said that those were coming back for Andromeda, did they not?
They are coming back.
So that's something I'm excited about.
Yep, they're completely optional, quote-unquote, side missions, and the purpose of them are to basically give you more detail or to tell the story of why this person chose to leave the Milky Way galaxy and seek a new life.
Yeah, they're only optional if you don't care if your teammates get shot when they're trying to shut a door that they should totally be able to shut, and then don't make an appearance in Mass Effect 3. Just like, I mean, I know that at my house there was a lot of uproar about the fact that Tali, wasn't in Mass Effect 3 at all, seeing as she died in Mass Effect 2. So,
Well, be sure to watch my playthrough of Mass Effect 3, because Tali will be so much alive and romanced. So, again, she's adorable.
Why would you romance anyone other than Liara? You could have blue little Asari babies.
Because I like someone who actually has a personality.
Oh, lines are drawn. That's okay. I like someone that neither of you like, and that usually doesn't live past the first game. So,
well, I'm taking Caden this time with me. So.
Oh, interesting.
Yep.
So serious question. Like, is Caden a space racist? Like, does he play the same role as Ashley? Like, what is he like? Because he died in the first 25 minutes of gameplay.
It was a little bit longer than that, but
Jenkins dies in the first 25 minutes of gameplay.
Yeah.
Caden dies toward the end. Or Ashley.
I just remember being like, and maybe it's just because I played through all 3 games, and I'm looking back, but like it was like, I don't know, I didn't feel bad leaving him behind. I mean, it was like, hey, it's for the mission, man. Sacrifices must be made.
See, and I felt that way about Ashley because her personality always grated on me, and she's the warrior soldier. I was like, yeah, she'll feel good about sacrificing herself for the greater good. Go on and do it. Also, I was femshep romancing Caden, so
So like in Mass Effect 1, I feel that Ashley is kind of an annoying Bible thumping space racist, whereas Caden was just kind of boring, I guess I would say. But after playing through and seeing both of them in Mass Effect 3, because they pretty much had an identical role in Mass Effect 2, pretty much the same dialogue. But Mass Effect 3, like Ash becomes like super uninteresting, dolled up Barbie who doesn't really make good decisions, or like I don't know, like she's just not a very interesting character. Whereas Caden kind of does a 180 and becomes a much more interesting character.
But doesn't she in Mass Effect 3? Doesn't she finally like get past her like xenophobia?
Yeah.
Like I don't know. I never was really invested in her. Like she was not in the party that went out.
Yeah.
But I mean, because her job was to kill things, and I could kill things. I needed people that could, open locks, kind of set up. But no, I mean, I seem to remember, like, it's been a while since I played the Mass Effect 3, obviously, but I remember like feeling like the sense of accomplishment that like she had turned from her super xenophobic, quasi-racist viewpoint to like being more open. Like I felt accomplished about that. Like not that I mean, because it's in the story, I totally did it right, but like it I don't know. I felt really happy that she finally came around and like was seeing the universe in the way that I saw it and like willing to work with the other species and stuff. Like it felt like an accomplishment at the time.
Yeah, and that actually happens in Mass Effect 1. Even if she does end up dying, you usually, or a little bit before that, is when she starts kind of coming around. It comes to fruition completely in Mass Effect 3. But I don't know. I just find Caden to be the more interesting and fun character, I guess, because he's kind of like a buddy, kind of like Garrus is, just not to the same extent in my opinion. And also he's a lot more useful in combat than Ashley.
And I think he's got a more interesting backstory. I mean, his stuff with the kind of experimental biotic implant and like kind of his, being a research subject basically,
and
kind
killing his instructor.
Yeah. I mean, he's very. I mean, he has like a buddy kind of bro-ish, but he's also like a bit more emotionally deep than Ashley, I feel like. Anyway, we can go on about this. This is turning into a huge
Welcome to the Mass Effect podcast.
Huge tangent at this point.
Mike Gamble, hire Ryan. He clearly knows about all these things.
But yeah, Caden all the way, even though he dies in like 90% of Mass Effect playthroughs.
Yeah. But I like him better than Ashley. That's so he is in my canon playthrough that I am recording.
Me too.
I felt like the more I got to know Ashley, the more I regretted not saving Caden. So if I ever do a Mass Effect 1 playthrough again, I'll save Caden.
And that's kind of how I felt. And Caden really blooms, I say, in Mass Effect 3 especially.
Yeah. Well, he rips your heart out in Mass Effect 2 with the whole Cerberus thing. When you guys did your playthroughs originally, did you romance a person in Mass Effect 2?
I did not romance in Mass Effect 2 because I wanted to be loyal to Liara. Because by the time that I was playing Mass Effect 2, Mass Effect 3 had been announced, and it had been said that she was going to be back in there. And so I wanted to have my save where I was loyal to her throughout the games.
Yeah. I wanted to be, but Tally really won me over.
And that's really I think that story for you is pretty awesome. But like, this could sound super cheesy, but one of Mass Effect 2's most powerful moments for me, because I assumed that it would be a kind of an oversight. If you romance someone in the first one and then not in the second one, I figured that the like quote unquote romance scene would just be skipped over when you're preparing to go to the Omega 4 relay. But there's actually this really sweet scene where it shows your Shepard sitting at their desk in their quarters, kind of holding the picture of the person that they romance in the first game, and just kind of like having a moment right before they go to the final mission, and it's really, really powerful and really cool.
Yeah, I actually remember that and really liked it.
I got to see that on my second playthrough of Mass Effect 2 for my footage because of the way the trailer worked out. You pretty much had to do 2 playthroughs in order to get all the shots. especially because a lot of the Normandy ship scenes,
Sure.
some of them are shots for when you successfully have like the plated armor and the shielding and the gun upgrades for your ship, and some of them are when you don't.
That's annoying.
So
I'm really curious what happened, like which characters come up if you Google Normandy ship scenes, because it's not going to be pictures of the ship.
It's true.
No, it's going to be Normandy ship porn, like they show in that comic that you like. Penny
Also,
Arcade.
Ashley's
The
in
Penny
trailer,
Arcade
so
dirigible comic.
I had to do a save where Ashley was alive versus Caden. So, but it's pretty funny. There was only like maybe like 10 shots that I needed in this alternate universe timeline sort of thing. So I spent a lot of time seeing if I could like modify the save file using a save file editor, but some things like those upgrades for the ship you just can't do. So I just like in like a matter of literally 2 hours, I like just beat the whole game again. The game actually goes really fast if you skip all the dialogue. Don't walk out of your way to go talk to anybody, and literally.
Yeah, if you don't care about saving the universe, you can blow through that game.
Yeah, just run past all the enemies because it's rare that you actually have to defeat all the enemies in the room to actually progress. You just got to get to their side without dying, and then open the door, and then a cutscene will start, and all the enemies will be dead.
So what you're saying is that you've decided to get into speedrunning now.
I guess so. But yeah, it was a fun time. Glad that people love the trailer because I love it too.
It's getting really good reviews / likes.
Yeah.
Did you upload it as yourself?
It's on the Brief
no.
Nerdity YouTube channel.
There you go. That's brand synergy. Oh my God, we're actually gonna have people listen to us this week.
I have the Brief Nerdy logo at the end of the trailer too, so
there you go.
2,500 people, including Mike Gamble, have seen it.
That's right.
So, but yeah, I'm excited. So we'll switch gears from Mass Effect. This is no longer the unofficial Mass Effect podcast, but let's talk Marvel. So who this weekend saw the Marvel Studios Day 1 shooting video?
I didn't know what it was, and I kind of thought it was a joke, to be honest, at first, because it was just like random set shots at the beginning. I was like, oh, what is this crap they're teasing us with? And then they started like doing the interview and like seeing Robert Downey Jr. and Chris Pratt like on a set together. I was like, ee!
Yep. It's gonna be so good.
So I was super excited about it too, but it filled me with a little bit of trepidation because I think this might be the high point. Like after Infinity War, I don't know how you do something better than that. I mean, they've literally spent, how many years has it been since Iron Man came out? I mean, if you look at since Spider-Man came out, because they're bringing Spider-Man into it, like this whole thing has been building for a long time. And I know obviously the original Spider-Mans weren't, part of the MCU. Don't send me hate mail for that.
Since 2008 is when Iron Man came out.
And it's like, so this is going to be like the best movie ever. And I truly believe that. I don't think it's going to flop. I think it's going to be incredibly successful. But then where do you go from here? Like it's, I don't know. I feel like they're setting the bar so high that everything else will be kind of, it's kind of like the Batman franchise did before Ben Affleck got in and mucked it all up, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. But like after the one with the Joker, like the one with Bane wasn't terrible, but it didn't meet to the previous standard.
Oh, I went all the way back to the Keaton Batman, so I jumped too far.
the recent Batman. the only Batman I've ever seen in movies. Yeah.
Well, I think Ben Affleck is not the best, but a better Batman than Christian Bale. His movie wasn't as good.
Well, let's talk a little bit more about Infinity Wars, and we're working our way down our list. I jumped just a little bit too far ahead. Sorry.
So to answer your question, that I agree. I don't think Marvel Studios will ever be able to top what they've built when it comes to its conclusion in Infinity War. I don't think necessarily that they'll try to, because lightning can't strike the same place twice, using a figure of speech. This is something that was brand new. It's like the first Avengers movie was a milestone just in cinema history, and just not only that, a great movie. And I think this is going to be the same thing. This is a culmination of 10 years of movie histories where each movie has been a sequel to the other. kind of ending with this big moment. That being said, that doesn't mean that the Marvel universe is going to be over and that we're still not going to get great stories, because I mean, if you look at the Marvel TV shows alone, like they have 0.001% to do with anything going on in the movies, and yet they're still standalone, super high quality experiences that are coming into their own, team up and crossover story.
This is a question that people had with World of Warcraft, especially, and it's the best analogy I can think of, because you had expansion after expansion that felt like ramped up to the next one and then to the next one. You have more and more powerful like end bosses, and then finally you got finally you get to the end of Cataclysm with Death Knight, who is literally trying to destroy the entire planet. And then it was like, oh, where are you going to go from here? It's like, oh, we're going to give you the best expansion, in my opinion, ever with Mists of Pandaria, except for the whole Garrosh thing at the end. But like the story of and the quest design and everything from that point on was so amazing, and it had nothing to do with like end of world stuff, but it was still fantastic. And so I think that is where they're going to have to go after that, is they just need to pick another kind of story. And I mean, I'm sure they have a breadth of stories from the Marvel comics from which to draw from. They may not all be as good as Infinity War in terms of scope, but I think they'll be good.
I think my concern about it is I don't feel like they've done enough to bring along, I don't want to say like B characters, but like, I mean, at some point Robert Downey Jr. is going to stop being Iron Man, and in my opinion, you need to take a long pause after that before you have more Iron Man. Or either do something like they've done in the comics now, where Iron Man's actually like a black girl that Tony Stark has handed it off to. But like, I don't think that they can just replace Downey as Tony Stark and keep going. I don't think that Chris Evans, is that who plays Captain America? Like, I feel like that these people aren't going to be here for much longer. I think that after Infinity War, I don't know that we'll see another Captain America or another Iron Man movie. And that's a little sad, but they need to have somewhere to take it. And I mean, they have...
Well, I think they already have, they have Black Panther, Captain Marvel, or Miss Marvel, depending on how you know her, is going to have her own movie here soon. They've got Doctor Strange that can have more shows.
Spider-Man now.
Spider-Man. I'm missing somebody. Guardians of the Galaxy is going to have at least one more.
So I think Guardians of the Galaxy will continue and do pretty well because it's less related to the MCU than some of the other ones.
Yeah.
And that cast can rotate, which is not just different people playing the same characters, but different characters. Because Guardians of the Galaxy has had dozens and dozens of members throughout the years.
Yeah, Guardians is almost like their own little mini Avengers team, and they have, like you said, in history, have rotated a lot of people through that crew.
I think even the ones that are in this movie that we know of now only came to be like in the mid 2000s or early 2000s was when, Gamora and Groot and just that group was together.
I am Groot.
I
think the interesting thing to be, we'll see if they try to develop new, I mean, not even like less known, but like heroes that we haven't seen before, or if we get the thing where it's like, well, now Captain America is the guy that plays Falcon because he was actually Captain America in the comics for a while, or whether Captain America is Bucky, because like there's so many different ways it's gone in print over the years. Like it's a little nerve-wracking to try to think, like, what are they going to do with, in the movies? And also, how are they going to, like, write out the characters? Because, I mean, are they going to kill Iron Man off? Like, if we're having movies down the road and, like, the Earth is under threat of annihilation, like, it doesn't make sense that the Iron Man and the Hulk and these people aren't going to show up. So, I mean, we're going to have to... I'm really curious and slightly nervous about how they phase out the older heroes in a realistic manner.
I would bet money that Steve Rogers is going to die and Bucky is going to take over as Captain America.
Yeah,
I would bet a lot of money. That's going to happen.
I think it's the best way to go for him. I think Tony Stark, they've established enough of like, being a hero is ruining my chance with Pepper. I love her. I want to settle down, and maybe he just funds and does research with his Cybro. Dr. Bannon.
I sure hope not.
Fund the future of the Avengers together. I don't know. There's
a lot of things they
could do.
I think that Tony Stark needs to die because his character is so much that he can't stay out of the limelight. I feel like if he's able to retire and have a normal life afterwards, that's untrue to the character of Tony Stark.
I kind of agree.
I
think they have to recast him or he dies.
I disagree.
I'd love to see him. I'd love to see him do a series where like Hawkeye and Black Widow run the Avengers, and they have like all these recruits under them, because neither of them have had standalone movies. Both have said that they're open to having standalone movies. So I mean, I think that really that probably is, in my opinion, the best path forward. Is phase out all the old heroes. They either die in Infinity War, they get sucked into a singularity, they contract some horrible disease and can't do their job anymore. They're whatever.
Now, I'm not making fun of you with this statement. I'm making fun of kind of the news line. It's like Scarlett Johansson would be fine with this, with the Scarlet Witch movie. It's like, oh yeah, I would be fine being the primary main character in a mega superhero franchise and make millions of dollars. Sure,
well, Scarlett Johansson wouldn't be the primary character in a Scarlet Witch movie.
Oh, Scarlet Witch hat. Yep, sorry. It's got scarlet hair of hers.
Well, there's another example, and we could have a Scarlet Witch movie pretty easily. I don't know why they haven't planned on that personally, but
I'd love to see her and Hawkeye do a duo team up. I think that, especially with some of the great writing they did in the Age of Ultron, like between Hawkeye and Quicksilver, that like I feel like he kind of shares a.
Or even the two of them in Civil War had a really good connection.
Yeah, when he breaks her out.
Yeah.
Do you think that there's a chance, because we've seen a lot of celebrity activism kind of with what's going on in the broader world, and we don't generally address that because we like to not fight and not get actual like hate mail with anthrax and stuff in it. But do you think there's a chance that we see something like an Arab or like a Pakistani Captain America, or maybe a Captain America in a female form? I mean, they did a female Thor in the comics for a while. Do you think that we get maybe like some radically different reinterpretations, or do you think they're going to stick fairly close to source material as to not alienate, their most ardent fanboys?
Well, you know what happens when they cast Mary Jane as a black person. So that didn't go off.
Mary Jane's a black person?
I would personally love to see it, but I don't think it's going to happen anytime super soon. Granted, I'm just maybe not good at seeing the future, but I mean, I would love them to introduce like Miles Morales Spider-Man.
Oh my goodness, that's my most wanted Spider-Man. Please get this kid that was not good in Ender's Game.
I was hoping they would do that before they announced that.
What? You don't like the new Spider-Man?
No.
You're fired. Leave.
I thought they nailed it better than they could do anything else with Andrew Garfield.
No.
Ryan hates those movies.
No.
I loved them. I thought Andrew Garfield
was... I thought that the writing in those movies was at times atrocious, but I thought that
Andrew Garfield played it really well.
Yeah, I thought that the character of who Peter Parker was phenomenal, and they nailed like the essence of Spider-Man, even though I actually have more serious problems with the movies he's in than the previous set.
I thought he was a good Spider-Man. He was a terrible Peter Parker.
The problem is that they're always terrible Peter Parker, because Peter Parker was like a nerd and was totally outcast and didn't have really any friends except for Harry Osborn.
Well, see, I feel the opposite about Tobey Maguire. I thought he was a good Peter Parker, but a bad Spider-Man.
Yeah, I mean, but it's Peter Parker is such a miserable character when he's not in the suit that you're never going to see it adequately represented in film, because it's uncomfortable to watch. It like makes you kind of itch in your skin for him, because it's like, oh, like anyone that's experienced that in real life doesn't want to see that portrayed on film. It's too real.
Yeah, but I think they did well with that in the original Spider-Man trilogy.
Well, I mean, it lasts like 10 minutes. And then he goes to, being the superhero with abs who just doesn't happen to be wearing the costume.
See, and that's the problem that I think they've had, is that even after he got powers, well, depending on your storyline, like he still was an outcast and still faced all that kind of, I don't want to say discrimination, but like angst and teenage meanness that you face in high school.
I'm just not a huge fan of Tobey Maguire in general, so that's hard for me to be unbiased when talking about the original Spider-Man trilogy.
I think Spider-Man is the only thing I've ever seen Tobey Maguire in, realistically. But
I think he did a movie with the horse, Seabiscuit.
Yeah, he's also in like Pleasantville.
Yeah, he's been in a lot of other movies.
I just haven't seen any of them, but
he just always has Tobey Maguire face, and I can't.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I can't disassociate the actor with the role, because it's the only role I've really seen him in. So
Yeah.
It's not something I have to deal with. But I don't know. I felt they did that in 2. You know, showing he's kind of a nerd, and then showing like with the delivering pizzas and how his like boss fires him because he like took time to like save the day versus delivering the pizzas on time. You know, things like that. I think showed that.
Yeah, I think back to the main thing. You know, you talk about all the people who have major movies that are still slated that to have more, and then you add like Scarlet Witch, Vision, Falcon. Um, we didn't mention Ant-Man. Black
For
Widow
good reason.
and Black
Oh,
Widow and,
wait. Oh,
and
what? Hold on.
Hawkeye.
Sorry. I'm
Hang
sorry.
on, hang on. Black Widow and Hawkeye, who are never going away, and Hawkeye became like the surprise star of both Age of Ultron and Civil War, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I would agree.
So I would love to see him take over, like you said earlier, take him take over Shield, and go from there.
So are you familiar with the Vision comics at all?
No.
I would love to see a movie that has no action in it at all. That's about Hawkeye trying to help Vision adjust to like living with his family. Like Vision gets a family, and like lives with them and is not a superhero and like goes through some really like deep what does it mean to be human and to be loved, and like it's actually one of the best comic series to come out in recent years in my opinion, which is worth what you pay for it. But yeah, there's actually some really phenomenal stuff on Vision out there available for those who might want more.
See, and I think the actor that plays him does a remarkable job, and I don't know. I think the character is boring.
Have you heard the story about him getting that job?
No.
So it's the same guy that voiced Jarvis, I'm pretty sure, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And his agent basically said, yeah, like you did that thing voicing Jarvis, and no one wants to hire you now. Like your career's over. Like you're not going to act anymore. Because he hadn't had any work, and he was like super down about it, and like was basically planning on leaving acting because he couldn't get any work. And he got a call, and they were like, hey, we'd like you to be Vision. And he's like, yes, please.
Vin Diesel was rumored to be Vision for a long time before he was confirmed as Groot.
Oh, I'm so glad that they went with was it Paul Bettany? Is that his name?
Yeah.
I like him better. I've loved him since A Knight's Tale, and he did Da Vinci Code. I think he's a really good actor, personally.
Yeah, I like him.
And I really liked him in Need for Speed. I thought that was really good.
That great 2017 new
That's
movie.
right. The reboot of Need for Speed.
For all of our new watchers who are only here because of the tweet, we all say stupid stuff that's wrong sometimes, and then being people who were ridiculed in high school and about our nerddom, we ingrained that behavior, and now we continue to make fun of each other for things that we think that they might not have done well in the past.
Guys making fun of each other is how we show our love.
That's right. That's very damaged.
So let's talk about Batman, because I said very prominently that I think Ben Affleck is a better Batman and Bruce Wayne.
Well, I'd like you to qualify. Like, you think he looks more like Batman and sounds more like Batman to you, or you think that the things he is the properties he is in are better?
All the above. So Christian Bale.
Oh, it's on.
First off, I thought obviously those movies, the Christian Bale movies, are much better movies. Not going to argue.
Okay, that's the opposite of what you just said.
Sorry, I guess I misunderstood you. But yeah, the Christian Bale movies are by far better Batman movies, and probably Dark Knight is the best Batman movie. But I felt like Christian Bale himself was terrible in them. I felt his Batman was terrible, and I don't know if I'm gonna need to blame him or Chris Nolan for it. But
where are the drugs going?
Yeah, like the suit I felt was ridiculous, and like the so armory, and it's dumb, and yeah, the famous voice, super unneeded and over the top, and took me out of the scene every single time. And then, like, I really didn't like his Bruce Wayne either. Like, I did not see Bruce Wayne. Like, I pretty much just saw Christian Bale being a jerk.
I will admit
which,
that
according to the Terminator Salvation set, is pretty much who he is in real life.
Oh,
So
I will admit that he wasn't broody enough for kind of what I'm looking for Batman. He's like, I'm super happy I'm Batman, and my life is really fulfilled because of that. What do I do if I'm rich and don't know what to do? And then his butler's like, you buy things that aren't for just like, yeah. And until probably the last movie there, like even when he was fighting Joker and didn't know what to do, like with Joker, you never saw him really have a personal struggle. I mean, yeah, the girl that he was in love with, boom. But like I don't know, it wasn't the like tortured soul that you get from the Batman from the comics and from the animated series.
yeah, and I got a prerequisite. I pretty much base all my opinions on Batman on how Bruce Wayne and Batman are in the animated series because that is Batman. Period, in my opinion. So, but no, I didn't like Christian Bale, even though Dark Knight is the best Batman movie ever made, and I felt that Ben Affleck just did a better job on both fronts, even though the movie he was in was not good.
I liked a lot about the Batman vs Superman Batman. I was not a fan of the Batmobile in that, but like he did really good as kind of an older, uh, kind of weary Bruce Wayne Batman. He looks the part. The whole like him running towards the collapsing buildings scene
So cool.
is just perfectly done.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think I will agree with you. He is the better Batman, but his movie so far was pretty bad.
Yay!
I think that
give me
I think
internet
that
points.
I think that Batman is a character who is just exceptionally hard to translate into a multi-hero setting because Batman should be dead 50 times over. I mean, it's like if Darkseid punches Batman, Batman's going to die. He's going to punch his like heart out of his chest.
Well, see, but the action stuff is actually where I thought the movie did great with Batman. I think the worst part about Batman versus Superman is Superman and Lex Luthor. Because I thought
I think that there was definitely
fights was great.
Yeah, I feel like when you have Lex Luthor giving people jars full of piss, that you definitely have gone off the reservation. No, but just separate from that, I think that there is when you get into solo, movies, it's fine because you can tailor the villain and the threat for the hero. But for example, let's look at the Christian Bale Batman for a second. So you had Joker going around doing all this bad stuff, right? If Superman had been there, that movie would have been over in like 6 minutes. I'm going to fly around the city. I'm going to X-ray the buildings, or I'm going to trace back the with my super hearing, like, and so it's like there's really nothing action-wise that Batman can do that really adds much, and so he gets kind of shoehorned into I'm really smart and a great detective, which is cool, and that's actually the best part of that character in my opinion, but it doesn't necessarily translate well to a 2-hour movie where you're trying to move the plot along and show flashy stuff. It's like at least Iron Man, like he basically has superpowers because his suit's so cool, but like Batman's suit doesn't do the things that Iron Man's suit does.
No, but I mean, I think there's that scene where he goes in and rescues Martha and takes down all the bad guys. That scene is incredible. The even the stuff with fighting the big what's the big monster's name? I'm having a brain fart.
Doomsday.
With his like kryptonite grenades, which I thought were awesome, like the little gas grenades that go off and weaken him. The only thing that took me out in terms of like his being super smart was when he made a freaking kryptonite spear. I'm like, really? Like a sniper bullet didn't come to mind. But yeah, whatever.
Sniper bullet is what is used in that Justice League Doom movie.
Exactly.
I think in one of the Death of Superman things, it's a kryptonite bullet that goes through his heart, isn't it?
That's in the Justice League Doom.
There you go.
It seems silly to me. It was like, oh, I'm this super high tech detective guy with a armored tank car thing, and I'm gonna make a kryptonite spear to fight an alien.
Yeah.
And destroy me with my battle armor thing.
And I'll just say this: I don't really like getting into arguments of like, oh, Batman doesn't belong to Justice League because he doesn't have powers because Superman could just resolve all of Batman's issues. I mean, yeah, technically speaking, but it's a superhero book, and there's suspension of disbelief, like especially like Joker, like he would have been dead a long time ago. Either Batman would have actually killed him, or just one of the guards who had a wife die at the hands of Joker in Arkham Asylum would have shanked him at some point.
No, man, because if you kill the Joker, the Batman's coming for you.
Yeah, who cares? One person might think it's worth it based off all the blood that's on Joker's hands, but
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel they utilize
Sorry, go ahead.
I feel they utilize Batman well for the situation he's given, and since he's the most popular DC character by far, I still feel he has to be there and contribute what he can.
Do you think he's the most popular DC character? Or you think Superman is?
Oh, by far Batman.
Batman for sure.
Really?
You should see a Lego movie. They actually joke about that.
Well, because I like Batman more than like Superman, but I think if you polled 100 people, maybe we'll have to put a poll up because I think that most people are far more Superman fans than Batman.
No.
We'll have to do a poll. We have a Facebook page, right? We'll do a poll.
No one will answer it.
Our 8 people that go regularly will answer it.
Exactly. See, I know enough people I can get to answer it to skew the results in my favor. So, in other DC news, Trent, I heard you were really excited to see that another Marvel news that Marvel on Netflix is making a clone of Green Arrow.
I'm gonna kill you.
Them fighting words. Let's get ready to rumble. Wait, no. Let's do a Marvel thing. Bonesaw is ready. There you go.
Yeah, you gotta break away from those sports references. Iron Fist is not a clone of Arrow. He just one thing in common. 2 things in common.
I bet I can go for your number of things they share in common, and then Ryan and I will see if we can come up with more than the number that you give.
Hey, I already said I'm in the middle of this fence. Like I think there's similarities between the characters, but I think the show is going to be completely different in its own right. So go.
He went away and became a superhero when he came back, and he has rich parents who owned a company that he's now going to run. The end.
And he goes after people who have failed this city.
That's every superhero. Like, I mean, you water everything down enough, you can make comparisons between any 2 superheroes.
Both Batman and Superman have Martha moms.
I mean, Arrow is already a weaker clone of Batman who has to use Batman villains to be cool. So...
Oh, snap.
All right, I'm tagging Stephen Amell in the comments for this video, and he's going to come kick your ass.
No, I love Arrow, and I love Stephen Amell, and I've met him. He's really cool. But I'm sorry, they're stealing what's cool about Batman to make Arrow cooler than he would actually be in his own right.
That's fine, because the show on television that's about Batman was unable to steal the things that were cool about Batman and make a successful show.
It's a great show, and it is better than all the CW DC shows.
That's false.
You can't just look at that balloon scene and then judge the whole show on it, because
Nope,
I
absolutely can.
I could probably find 5 scenes that are worse than that in every single episode of Arrow and bring them up.
Okay, what about the Mooney being kept on that island prison thing that has no resolution?
Well, that was dumb. No one likes Mooney, so.
Thank you. See, more than just one thing I can point to.
I would say that Legends of Tomorrow is better than
Gotham.
I think Gotham has really grown on me, and it's.
I'd say the Legends of Tomorrow is better than Gotham before they got rid of Captain Cold. My heart.
It's much better this season than it was last season.
And then now the guys having hallucinations of him, and I thought they were going to bring him back, but they're not. And it just.
Yeah, there's casting spoilers out there.
Spoilers.
I do want to say this though. My name is Danny Rand. After 10 hellish years in Kung-Lun, I came home with one goal, to save my city. I will now fulfill my father's dying wish, bring down those who are poisoning my city. To do this, I must become someone else. I must become something else. Previously on Iron Fist.
I hate you so much.
So I do, again, not getting too political, but I do want to get in before people start complaining that Iron Fist is a white guy and that the show was whitewashed. He's always been a white guy. So,
I mean, yeah.
But I've already started seeing, like, when they announced it initially and the casting came out, there were already people that were up in arms that it's another show about a white hero when it should be an Asian guy. I mean, I'm not unsympathetic to whitewashing when it occurs, but this is not an instance of it.
Well, I mean, no, but it is still a white savior trope, especially.
The last thing they made was Luke Cage. They have. I mean, they have a female savior trope with Jessica Jones. They have Luke Cage. It's the strongest of all of
I'm
them.
not saying
is a black
Marvel is
guy.
not diverse. I'm talking about specifically the story of Iron Fist and how this white guy is the hero of the Asian people, and that is being done way too much in Hollywood in general. You can look no further than the new Great Wall movie that's coming out, where Matt Damon is going to single-handedly save all of China. I mean, that whole kind of stuff is, and I don't want to get too political, but it is a very common trope, and people said that they would have loved to have seen a reverse casting of an actual Asian hero to be Iron Fist. And I think that would have been really cool.
I would have liked to have seen a reverse casting and had a black Spider-Man.
That too.
There was just a recent announcement that
Danny Glover.
Disney's casting of the new Aladdin live-action movie that just Disney's doing now is going to not be whitewashed.
Good. Well, all of the remakes so far have been good.
Yeah.
If they can somehow find a way to make Ming-Na Wen look young enough to play Mulan, I will die a happy person. It's not going to happen, but I could dream. Huh?
The whole movie.
Yeah, just do the CGI on her, motion capture.
So I'm excited about Iron Fist, not for itself so much, but for the fact that it brings us one step closer to the Defenders.
Yes, I'm so excited for that.
And
That's supposed
mainly
to also
because
come out this year, right?
I'm not sure, but
I think
it's
the release date is sometime 2017, so I'm assuming it's going to have a fall release, which I'm stoked for.
the funny thing is that the two people I'm actually interested in seeing in the Defenders are not the white men. I couldn't care less about Daredevil. I didn't even finish the second season of that. I thought it went from questionable to bad to worse. And then maybe Iron Fist is great, maybe it's not. But man, I just take Luke Cage and Jessica Jones kicking ass, taking names.
Yeah, I still think Daredevil's the best, followed by Jessica Jones and Luke Cage so far.
I haven't finished Luke Cage yet, but
wait, you legitimately think that Daredevil's the best?
Yeah.
All
the
right.
best show, maybe not the best hero.
No,
but the best show.
No,
out of the three.
Well, that's.
I'm interested to see how they're going to play well together, because I don't see Jessica Jones really teaming up with people in a bigger way.
I'm excited to see them trying to do good things together and get in arguments over how to do it and over morals. So it'll finally be like the D&D games that you run, Trent.
I want to see Iron Fist and Daredevil fight. I'm sure it's going to happen.
Yeah.
But
see, Luke Cage, I'm still only 2 episodes away from the end, but even though I enjoy every episode, I'm never I need to watch the next episode, kind of like what I did for Daredevil and Jessica Jones. I pretty much binge watched them because I really, really enjoyed them. Jessica Jones, I thought was great. Its only weakness, and I've said this before, is that there's only so many times the main antagonist can be captured, and they have him, and then he gets away, and then they capture him, and they got him, and then he gets away. It seriously happens 6 times.
Yeah, weren't you talking earlier about how you like Batman and the Joker and that dynamic? I mean.
Well, it's different when it's happening over years and years of comic, but a single 13 episode TV show.
Well, but that's the problem, is that they actually have lots and lots of really intertwined and interesting, super interesting arcs in the comics, but they had to fit what they wanted into one season. So a lot of those side things that better explain why they keep bumping into each other and getting away and whatnot.
I think he kept getting away because of stupid things too, people being stupid and making stupid decisions that he gets to slither out, and it's just Joker gets captured and goes to Arkham, and then escapes because of the
because they put in a revolving door in the back of Arkham.
Yeah, but the Daredevil, I mean, I feel like it has a lot. It has the seriousness of a Marvel movie. It has the lightheartedness in some of the other main characters. And just has a good villain, the best Marvel villain in my opinion so far.
You talking about Kingpin, or are you talking about
Kingpin? Yeah.
Because and I watched the first season pretty. I mean, not straight through by any means. I watched Jessica Jones within 48 hours of it coming out, and Luke Cage within a week of it coming out, and still as a solid chunk when I got around to it. But Daredevil, I was maybe, and then you got to the part with Punisher, and I wouldn't care if the whole lot of them got run over by a truck. I just didn't connect with them. I didn't really care about them or what they were doing.
Yeah, that's fair.
I thought that it distracted too much from Daredevil's story, because I thought Punisher's story was better written than what Daredevil had going on.
And I agree with that too.
Well, and
But
I'm a person
as
of
soon as
questionable morals. Like I kind of agree with Punisher more than Daredevil. If you're like 100% positive that if these people were caught and were going to go to trial, I mean, and that they'd be, put to death for what they've done, but they're hiding behind stuff. Like maybe I wouldn't go out and murder them, but like maybe you just stay out of Daredevil or out of Punisher's way, and you do your stuff and let him do his stuff, and make Hell's Kitchen better for everyone. Make Hell's Kitchen great again. Defenders 2017.
I did think that there was a really interesting, like my favorite part of season 2 of Daredevil, aside from the team up with Elektra, which I thought was actually really well done, was this whole like Daredevil having to face the hypocrisy of him being a lawyer and a vigilante. It's like you can't be both. Like you can't say that the law is important and uphold the law while also breaking the law to justify the ends
Yeah.
of saving your city. And so I thought it was really well explored in season 2. The problem is that they had too much going on. The season was too long, and I think they tried to do too much.
Like his buddy. What is his buddy's name?
Foggy.
Yeah, like I wish that one of like the goons for the Kingpin would have just killed him in the first season and gotten him out of there.
You don't like Foggy?
I like Foggy.
I
Like,
Foggy as
Do you think it would have made for a better story, or you're annoyed with the character and want him to go away?
I just feel like all the plot points that he's tied into are just really dumb. Like I don't know that him dying would have been like a better dramatic hook, but it's like I feel like if the character if he was like the character that kept the law firm going and like was an off like screen character, like if we never saw Foggy, I think it would be a better show.
Well, I think his role is kind of the comic relief, likable guy who kind of keeps things grounded a bit and keeps Daredevil especially grounded. So
Yeah,
I like him.
I didn't mind it too much. I think I do. I don't know. It's hard for me to pit Jessica Jones up against Daredevil because Daredevil's had 2 seasons, and Jessica Jones is so different in like its tone and the way that they do everything. Like she's a superhero, but she doesn't really like. It wasn't about her powers.
She's
at
a
all.
super person.
Right, exactly. That's Thank you. That's a much better way of
That's a
putting
good
it.
way. Yeah, I like that.
I was thinking about what you said, Ryan. I think that maybe I just don't like him because he's a comic relief. Because everything that I hate about Olaf and Frozen are the same things that I hate about Foggy in Daredevil. Like it's just like, why are you here? You're stupid. Like,
Yeah, I can see why you don't like that. That's fine.
I think we should dig ourselves out of this Marvel hole and go to some other news.
What? But we all hate each other so much because of our differing opinions. And
did either of you see the DC? What was it?
Justice League Dark.
Justice League Dark. Have either of you watched that?
No, not
it's
yet.
on my list, but I haven't gotten to it yet. I know that you were not as happy with it as you wanted it to be.
I was. Yeah, I just generally I was disappointed. Like it wasn't bad, but it wasn't good.
Reviews weren't kind to it, so I'm not going to skip it completely, but I'll definitely wait for a while.
Like it was as interesting as some of the less interesting episodes of Justice League Unlimited. I mean, so it's cool. It's not like the Killing Joke where I kind of was like, I don't know how I feel about this, but I mean, it just wasn't great.
Yeah.
Which is a shame because I actually was more hyped for that than for pretty much any other comic stuff in a while.
Have you watched a good bit of the DC animated movies?
I mean, I'm not necessarily well versed, but I have watched a smattering of them.
Smattering.
I tend to watch them all. I mean, I have watched them all. I mean, the few newer ones aside, I haven't yet, but I don't know, just the bar is set really high because several of them are very, very, very good. For more information, you could check us out on our website, briefnerdy.com. I had a write-up of the 5 best DC animated movies, in my opinion. had to do that. So, but yeah, some of them are very, very good. You should check out that article and watch the ones on my list if you haven't yet.
So, I think I'm most excited. I'm going to shift gears away from superhero stuff to talk about some technology news. I would like to just say kind of a big I told you so to the news that Facebook is closing hundreds of its Oculus VR pop-ups in Best Buy because no one is using it, even for free.
Well,
Well,
yeah.
I mean, that doesn't mean that people are uninterested in it. It means that they don't want to go and get their heart set on something that costs $800 that they can't afford.
Well, that's the thing. Like, it's like, even like, I want a Lamborghini, but that doesn't mean that I will ever have the ability to buy one.
Yeah, but everything, I know that neither you nor Ryan are really big like enthusiasts about 3D. You both think it's a fad that's going to fizzle, but everything I've heard you poo-poo about virtual reality is the same things that people poo-pooed when computers first came out. I mean, it may turn out to be a wash, but it may just be at the point where it's not viable cost-wise. I mean, if it was $200, I think that everyone would own one. And I think that eventually we'll get to the point where the tech is good enough that the price comes down. I mean, at least substantially. I mean, if you get to the point that you can buy a VR headset that gives you the same quality visual that you get on a monitor, and then you can just have a monitor on it, like in as the visual of you sitting in front of a desk with a monitor, I don't see why that would not, become a very viable option in place of getting a monitor, especially that it's super portable and you could carry it around a lot easier than a monitor.
They are not super portable, first off. If you're doing any kind of motion capture with it at all, which most of these are trying to do, you have to have like anchors in the room or set points that you compare yourself to. And so a lot of people have to set up a designated room for these things, which is hard to do for a lot of people. Which is one of its biggest weaknesses, in my opinion. And not to mention, like, when you do that, you end up like risking like crashing into your TV if you share the space with your other entertainment. I don't know. I think there's a lot of weaknesses to it that bringing the cost down is not going to fix.
But okay, but even if you had it set up at home for room scale VR, because there's different scale VR. There's lots of VR stuff you can do from a chair. But even if you had like a place set up at home, if you could take that with your laptop somewhere and plug it in, and not necessarily doing all the motion capture and all the other stuff that takes a lot of that processing power, but simply just passing the video output, so it was like that you were in front of a 40-inch monitor, and if it was 4K resolution where you could actually see it and it looked crisp, I mean, I could totally see people with 10-inch laptops plugging in an Oculus and using that as a virtual monitor, and that doesn't take nearly the processing power.
Like, the only thing I could think of where I'd actually want to do that would be on an airplane. Like, I would not want to go to a public place like a Starbucks or something and then like not be able to see what's going on around me and have people
all of a sudden it stops working and you
like,
realize it's because your computer's gone.
Exactly. Like, that's the thing that I hate a lot about it, is that like and there's a lot of people that do these kind of game reviews in general where companies like Rooster Teeth, for example, have had to place no pranks while doing VR rules for their entire company because of like how vulnerable you are when you're doing this activity. I don't know. The whole thing, I think, is still. I don't know. Maybe I am just biased against it, but I don't think it has legs long term. At least not in its current form, because not on top of the cost and the lack of portability of it for the most part in its current form. You also have a ton of people that have motion sickness with it because their tactile senses are not matching their visual senses. I don't know. I think it's very problematic.
I kind of agree with both of you. In that, in its current form, I don't think it's going to take off. If it gets cheaper and more widely acceptable and user friendly and able to use it in more environments, I think it potentially can. Also, I think it needs a killer app that does something special and unique that you can't really do anywhere else. And it's more than just a tech demo to be like, ooh, this is neat.
I mean, for artists that already exist. I've seen some of this stuff, like the 3D where you can rotate the image, 360-degree view stuff of things that they've done in Tilt Brush. I mean, there's a lot of artists that are really excited about it being a completely new medium.
Yeah, and that's true for their niche art, for that niche audience. But as far as mass appeal, that's really where this thing needs to shine.
But I think that one drives the other. I mean, you look at Mac, and Mac was popular with the artist and the creative type, and that made it much more popular among everyone else because the cool people had it. The people that we all, want to be like and aspire to be like.
Well, you used us as examples to poo-poo all over computers, back when computers came a thing, but I'll throw it back at you and use examples like the Wiimote, initially very successful, but, Nintendo's new console is going to be pretty much traditionally controlled with joysticks and buttons again. And 3D TVs were recently killed. They are no longer being manufactured because people don't want to watch a TV and wear these special expensive glasses in their homes for a very, very limited amount of content, and usually expensive content. They rather just watch it at a higher resolution rather than having all these unique hardware gimmicks, so to speak.
Not
Yeah,
to
I mean, I
mention the
think
resounding failure of the Kinect.
Yeah.
See,
Agreed.
I don't have a Kinect because I don't have an Xbox, obviously. But I mean, so I'm a big Penny Arcade fan. I mean, Gabe really likes his Kinect. Like they do podcasts when they're making their comics, and I watch their podcast because there's only an hour and a half of this one every week, so I need other things to watch. But like he was talking one time about that, like their Kinect had broken and he was having to get it fixed, and like he didn't know how to like do anything on his Xbox because he used it to control everything.
But he was probably referencing voice commands alone, which is all software based nowadays. Maybe back when it Kinect, it was a little bit hard, or when it first came out, it was a little bit hardware based. But we all now have the Googles and the Alexas and the Series to do all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I mean there have certainly been flops in technology that people said, well, no, they said that computers were going to flop and this isn't going to and so I mean it certainly could flop. Honestly, I'm way more interested in VR or something like the Oculus as a like a virtual desk platform than I am as a gaming peripheral. Like I'd love to have a desk that has no monitors on it, like at home where no one's gonna mess with me or I'll shoot them. And come in and I put it on and I have like 4 40-inch monitors up on my wall and my workstation, like, or that go lay in bed or kind of sit up in bed and you put it on and you're in a movie theater and you have that huge screen.
I was kidding.
There's a lot of other options that
See, it's funny you mentioned that because like part of why I'm so poo-poo in your words against VR is because I'm so pro AR, and I think that more useful advancement things.
I think that we're closer to VR being ready and useful than AR though. I think that AR has a further, like, I think that getting VR right is probably an important step on the path to getting AR right. But I know I saw the video this past week of people playing Portal in real life, and they were shooting their hand was the portal gun. They were shooting, and the companion cube was falling through the holes and stuff. Like, no, that stuff's cool, and I like that. And I think there's tons of potential there, but I feel like that's still further off than VR.
And like cars are even now coming out with a heads-up display on the windshield, versus a dash. Really, really cool. And so just imagine that plus like any AR aspects, like having your GPS, like the lines that are on your GPS in your car, saying like, oh, take this exit here, like actually showing up like on the road, or things like that.
Well, one thing that I can't even remember where I saw the article, but I was reading an article about it. It said that really the thing that will make AR take off will be when self-driving cars are good enough to drive themselves and only need to alert you when there's a problem. Because at that point you can actually have, so they have this stuff called privacy glass that it's perfectly clear you can see through it, but then when you run a current through it, it turns white, like it becomes opaque. And so you can actually do augmented reality projected onto that, onto a lens made out of that, which you can project onto a lens anyways, but you see through it. But they were talking about how you could be driving your car and doing something on your AR glasses that are more like VR because they've gone opaque. And that if the car senses a problem and needs you to take over, it could suspend what you're doing on those glasses and make them transparent again so that you could take over the car. Like, I think that the autonomous travel is going to play an enormous amount into that market because it's something you can do in a car if you no longer have to drive.
Yeah, I'll be honest. I could see, like, for me, I think the biggest downside to VR that I'm not interested in is the gimmicky motion capture. Like, I don't need to stand up and run while playing a game of Battlefield. Like, if I want to do that, I'm gonna go play paintball. Like, and actually go out.
I want to do that
and run.
If I want to do that, I'm generally not the type of person that plays Battlefield.
Exactly. So, but like I could see, like, I mean, Ross and I both play, tabletop role-playing games online. It would be great to be able to sit down at my desk, put on this headset, and actually look down and see using like the board game simulator, for example, on Steam, and see an actual grid with the tokens on a table rather than like a flat 2D screen like we have to use now to play our games online. So it's stuff like that I think could be really cool. And so I'm not poo-pooing like just the headset, but like people keep thinking that like gamers want to like get up and run around, and I'm like, I'm sorry, but you don't know a lot of gamers.
It's like when the Wii came out and they were like, yeah, you can swing it like a baseball bat, and people were like doing all this stuff, and then like a week later they're like flicking their wrist and like to simulate like the baseball swinging movement. I figured that the Star Trek bridge simulator would bring you on board, Trent. I didn't think that was going to be something that you were physically capable of resisting.
If that turns into a full-on game that like six of my friends can get together and play like episodically on a regular basis, I would buy an Oculus tomorrow.
I figured that like
I'll be honest.
I had started making the arguments in my head to like give them, listen, Trent got it and like he's playing it and I need an Oculus for this, and
yeah.
Except I think the Oculus is not the VR platform I would want. I would go for I think one of the reasons the Oculus is sucking is because they haven't kept up with the competition. And the fact that they were just ordered to pay $500 million to a company for basically stealing from it.
Yeah, that too.
I'm not a lawyer. That's not an official legal opinion. Please don't sue us.
You can sue him, just not Brief and Nerdy.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the kind of thing that Ryan was saying earlier. Like, there needs to be more than a tech demo. There has to be something that will sell the system in order to play that game. Like,
do you think it's porn?
No, because I mean that's already available and it's not.
See, I asked that because like I'm not old enough to remember this, but I've been told that the reason that VHS won out over Betamax, even though Betamax was a superior system, was because the adult industry went with VHS, and perhaps that's apocryphal, but that's what I was told growing up, was that like
same with HD DVDs and Blu-rays too.
Really?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, Blu-rays were superior, weren't they? Like spec-wise?
Very, very, very slightly. I mean, I want to say it was something like HD DVDs could hold like 56 gigs and Blu-rays can hold 60.
Hold like 60, yeah.
Something like that.
I mean, but with Betamax was actually better in every measurable way. Like all of its tech metrics were better than VHS.
Yeah, it's okay. Physical media is dying anyway.
Yeah.
As is your ownership of it.
It's kind of funny that as much as I'm not into esports and as much as I'm not into League of Legends, the thing that made me go like that would be really cool in regards to VR is I don't know if it's actually a thing, so forgive me if I'm ignorant and it is an actual thing, but to be able like to watch an esport League of Legends match, putting on a VR headset and like looking down, it's basically like a table, but it's the entire map, the 3-lane map of League of Legends, and be able like to see everything and physically look closer if you want to look closer at two heroes duking it out in one lane or going to another lane, just kind of looking at the map that way and seeing it as if you're like looking at like a little mini virtual war table. I thought that was really,
you could do that for any turn-based or RTS game.
Exactly. So I thought, then that's
really
cool.
Right now you'd have to like turning your head would just scroll the screen, which I think it'd be cooler if it was like you were actually physically above the map looking around at it.
Yeah. And have either of you seen the Minecraft Microsoft HoloLens demo?
Yeah, I've seen some of it. It looks pretty cool.
Yeah, that's what made me go like AR.
The thing that I am going to be curious about, because I obviously do not have like $6,000 and can't get a HoloLens headset to test on. I'm really, really curious when they put something on the screen that's supposed to be opaque, like when you see the Minecraft stuff superimposed over your living room, how opaque that is. I think that's going to be the key to that success, because if it truly is like solid and it can make it look solid, I think it's going to be hugely successful. But if it's like you can still kind of see through it and your eyes have a hard time kind of choosing which one to focus on, like I'm very, very skeptical of that tech until I've seen it. I hope it's everything they say it is. Like, I really would love it to be, but
according to Microsoft, they had the HoloLens on the camera when they showed that point, but that could be false. But
cameras also focus differently than human eyes. They can set the camera to focus at a certain depth.
HoloLens was available to tons of media people during that E3. There were like Halo demos and stuff like that for it, and they all have hands-on, eyes-on accounts of it.
I'm gonna be honest. I'm not sure that I'm ready for HoloLens. I don't want to put on goggles and have like zombies inside my house. Like there are some of those places where it's like they were so interested in could they do it that they didn't think should they do it kind of instances.
Yeah. Apparently, the biggest hurdle that HoloLens has to get over is that the field of view is very, very small. Like people say, it's like looking through like a mail slot.
Pair of glasses. No.
Yeah, I mean, they could see all around them, but to see the 3D image, it was a very, very small area to look at to get the vision. So
I mean, a lot of these futuristic things that you see, like the science fiction ones, like they have the piece of plastic that goes all the way around, like to their ears, that's projected onto. So I mean, that's a look that's been done in science fiction. I mean, we don't need them to be glasses.
I remember the Google glasses. I was so excited for those, but then I went and tried one at CES a few years ago, and I was like, "This thing is terrible." And then I was actually a little glad it didn't take off because I was like, "Man, this thing was terrible."
The only thing that those ever seemed good for was recording people in public, like that didn't know they were being recorded, and then uploading them online to like ridicule them for having a fight at Olive Garden on a Tuesday night.
Yeah, it's like taking pictures of hot people without them knowing. That's pretty much what most of it was.
I mean, you can do a lot of that with your phone, though. No personal experience, but
it's still super obvious when like the phone is suddenly like completely perpendicular with someone. Like it's really easy to tell when someone's taking your picture if they're in your field of view.
Or you live in Japan and you have mandated shutter sounds.
Get that too.
Oh man, my first phone that I ever had shutter sounds. I mean, I wasn't trying to like snap any upskirts or anything, but it was super annoying because like if you want to take a picture, like it played like click click at max volume. So the first hacking I ever did on a phone was I was rooting the OS so I could delete the file and replace it with a blank sound file.
So I'm curious. I'm changing subjects again. I want to have an in-depth conversation about esports because you mentioned kind of like the whole like esports viewing on a VR. Do we want to have an in-depth discussion tonight, or do we want to postpone it and have a longer discussion next week?
How long a discussion are we talking?
Well, there's some news that I remember hearing that I just brought up that I didn't put in the notes.
Sam, I probably won't be here next week, so I vote you talk about it then. No, I'm just kidding. I mean, I'm game for some esports.
Yeah, go ahead.
So there's a company called Take-Two Interactive, which owns 2K and Rockstar, and also has a stake in the NBA. I don't know if they own a team or what's going on.
I don't know that.
But they want to create a league around the NBA 2K video game. And this is a Business Insider article if anyone wants to read it. But it's addressing one of the biggest problems that I have with esports in general, which is that it's almost impossible to have like team loyalty because teams form and dissolve at the whim of any sponsor that wants to make one. And so you could love the certain team and all of a sudden they're gone. Like one of the greatest things about sports is that it gives you kind of like a fake in-out crowd where it's like, I love Kansas Jayhawks basketball, for example. And so I love going to KU basketball games, and there's traditions that surround it. No matter who's actually on the field or on the court in that example, sports ball, you have kind of
sports.
You have kind of a joint feeling of you know what it means to be a KU fan. With esports, I've never been able to get into it because I don't care about any of the people playing, because any of them might disappear and there's no lasting anything. But this company is talking about how they want to have like fans built around teams that are kind of reflect the actual NBA teams, and so you would cheer for your digital team in the same way you would cheer for your sports team. And I think that is something that esports is drastically missing.
I could get behind that idea because I'm not really into most of the games that are esports games, so that's probably my biggest hurdle. But I would be in agreement with you that me not caring about the players is also another hurdle.
Right, like I've watched professional, like I used to play a lot of League of Legends, for example. I've watched a lot of professional League of Legends games, and they are really entertaining, and the moves are incredible. Like the stuff they're doing is insane, but I don't care who wins. And so unless you like randomly choose some player that you've somewhat liked, there's no investment. And as soon as that player retires, at like 24 or whatever, like suddenly you're okay, well, who am I rooting for now?
I mean, but the vast majority of sports games, you don't care who. I mean, KU doesn't play in but a minuscule portion of the games.
Exactly.
I mean, because that's how I feel about sports. I mean, I don't
But I also
care.
don't care when Kentucky plays Duke, and except that I always want Duke to lose.
Thank you. I'm so glad, as my friend, that you understand that important paradigm. I'm a Carolina fan.
Who
No,
is
I
Duke?
am.
I don't understand.
It's a college. Who is this Duke guy?
SEC for life. Sorry.
It's okay. I don't even know what that is.
I don't know that really is going to fix the problem. I think it's a nice. In theory, it sounds nice, but I think that really the biggest problem is that your career doesn't last very long as a professional video game player, especially for some of these. Like if you're a strategy game player, maybe it's different. But I mean, like people who play StarCraft 2, I mean, they're peaking at like 23, 24.
But when do they start though? Like, what's the average length of a e-gamer career?
6 years at most. I mean, 6 years if you are the best and have the best career in a lot of cases, I'd think. And maybe people can in the comments say this guy's an idiot and doesn't know what he's talking about. Because we've gotten those before, and we're just glad to have comments. So you tell them. You tell me.
I've ever had any comments. Anyway, keep going.
No. But I mean, because there are people who liked the Bulls when Jordan was there.
Yeah.
And then Jordan went somewhere else, and I don't know.
I mean, you can love specific players. I mean, there are players in the Major League Soccer League, for example, that I really love and would follow kind of their career. But
I think the problem is that your esports, when you have big esports events, it's a weekend. I think that if you had something like the International, which is the big Dota competition that they do every year, I think if they broke it down to where there was maybe even like 8 matches every week, because there's probably 8 in I don't know how many NBA teams there are, but like there's clearly a number of games every week, but it's not like the entire NBA happens once a year on a Saturday.
Right. Well, that's the other problem is that like an average sports game takes at least an hour. Like soccer is 90 minutes, basketball is usually like 2 hours, football can take like 4 hours, whereas a League of Legends game can be done in 15 minutes.
Well, but I mean, if you're doing like best out of 5 type of things, I mean, I think they generally, one of the problems is they run longer than sporting events. But I mean, I think, yeah.
Huh.
I mean, I think one thing that's interesting to note, though, especially if you look at how long sporting events, timeouts and commercials and breaks, and if you look at the actual time that players are on the field, or the court or rink or wherever else you play sports.
Field.
Yeah.
Just stick with field.
My point seems to have
Trent?
escaped me.
Well, you were saying that the games aren't actually as long as they appear because of commercials. Actually, one of the reasons I love soccer so much is because like you have 2 45-minute halves that are. Wait, I hope I'm not completely talking out of my ass right now. I haven't been to a soccer game in a couple years, but so you have 2 equal length halves, and the game does not stop until the half is over. And like even if you're watching on TV, there are no commercials until that half is over, and then there's a spat of commercials during halftime, and then the game's back on until it's over. And so that's one thing I like about soccer.
Okay, if you get it wrong, it just proves our nerd cred even more.
I think the other problem with it is that, so if you're watching League of Legends, and you go and there's a big fight, and and someone wins, right? Like they take a tower, and it's like, oh, they took a tower, they're ahead now, and it's like, well, no, actually, even though they took the tower, they lost Dragon, which the goal. Like in basketball, it's really easy to see who wins. Who's winning. There's numbers at the bottom. You get 1 for a free throw, 2 for a regular shot, 3 for a 3-pointer. You're not allowed to hit people. Like the rules are not very complicated. And sometimes, you have to, why did they get the traveling? Oh, or too long in the paint. Like there are some more advanced rules, but it's really easy to sit down and for new people to understand it. I mean, you guys are the 2 biggest nerds that I know. And I would imagine that if the 3 of us sat down and watched a professional StarCraft match, that we would not know what's going on. And I've played an enormous amount of StarCraft. I mean, we might know, oh, this guy's getting his, his gatherers going. His probes are really collecting that gas, and he's expanding a base. But like, we would have no clue who's winning or what's happening or like which plays are good plays. Like, I feel like in sports, it's a lot easier to see what's happening and understand when something incredible just happened. Whereas I feel like with esports, a lot of times I mean, it depends on the sport, but for a lot of them, I have to have it explained to me. Counter-Strike is pretty straightforward. Oh, he killed 3 people. That was pretty cool.
Right.
But for a lot of them, it's very dense and hard for a new person to parse.
I mean, I think the basics of it is pretty easy to follow. It depends on who's controlling the camera for the spectator, and it also depends on how well the commentators are doing and explaining things. Because I have watched a few games where the commentators are giving no help whatsoever, and they're just using industry terms that nobody on the outside is going to understand. But I mean, if you're sitting down and watching it, I would maybe I should do this as a test and just like sit like my parents or somebody down in front of a League of Legends game and like try to explain to them what's going on and see if they enjoy it at all. But I mean, like the basics of it's like this team has to get to the other side and blow up the crystal. It's pretty straightforward. Like there's obstacles in the way, and the detailed stuff you'll learn eventually, kind of like the traveling and the offsides and stuff like in sports.
Yeah, it'll be interesting
Sounds like
to
an
see
interesting
how
project.
it takes off. Well,
Yeah.
only time will tell. We should probably get wrapping up, though. We're getting a little bit over time here. So, Trent and Ross are playing a lot of Ark. I'm playing a lot of Mass Effect, and we're watching DC shows and other shows like Expanse and stuff. So
That was really quick.
well, we have to at least give them the update, but we're out of time. So, I want to thank everybody for listening in on another episode of the Brief Nerdy podcast. Be sure to check us out on Facebook and our website, briefnerdy.com, like I mentioned earlier. Check out my Mass Effect 2 remastered trailer if you haven't already. 2,500 other people have already enjoyed it, so you could just add to that wonderful number, make it even higher. I think that's about it. Ross, Trent, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for having us.
Take care.
Bye.